Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And as a person who grew up in East Africa as a child and spent a lot of time just with nature, I know it's a day which is very important in South Africa with elections. And the tragedy is that Africa is like a big cancer just eating itself up, and it's so sad. 4 countries have just lobbied for the ivory ban to be lifted. They're Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And the leaders of these countries have resolved to effectively lobby the international community to relax the global ban on ivory trade to a strictly controlled form of trade. Now, anyone who knows anything about Africa knows that's BS. Can't happen. It'll just be the extinction of the elephant. That's what'll happen. Leaders from the 4 southern African countries held talks in Botswana this week on Tuesday to better manage the world's largest concentrations of elephants amid growing concerns over poaching, loss of habitat, and conflict with humans. Now, this is really where the issue is. I'm going to show you a picture now of Maasai ground north of northern part of Tanzania as you get up towards Kenya, and you can see it's totally eroded. It's desolate. There's nothing there. It's been overgrazed. They've got no idea what they're doing when it comes to this. So let's have a look at that picture, and I'll come back to you in a second. Pretty bleak, huh? Now, as most of you probably know, I grew up in Tanzania. I went to school in South Africa, but my first 5 formative years were as a little kid growing up in a little place called Oringa. And I should tell you that my father was a white hunter. Back in the 1930s, he used to go shooting elephants and he used to go shooting lion and stuff like that. And those were the days where no one questioned hunting. And he used to take groups out and they used to go hunting. And I've got lots of photos of him hunting. But, you know, when he realized the error of his ways, when things started getting worse in the 1950s, 1960s, and they started being concerned even then about what was happening to the population of the herds of animals. He became very involved with the game reserves in Tanzania, and in particular with the Little Ruaha Game Reserve, where he used to get on the walkie-talkie and you'd talk to Steve, who was the game ranger at that place, and he used to order in supplies for Steve, and they did a huge amount together of work, collaborative work, to keep that game reserve going. And he was recognized for his work by this group, Friends of the Serengeti. Now, that badge would sit on your car back then. This is back in the 1960s. And basically, as a friend of the Serengeti, it meant that you had been a huge donor. You know, you were someone who had done an awful lot to help nature conservation. And if Dad put that on his car, he could literally drive up to any government-owned place to stay or go into any game reserve, and they would just show him through. You wouldn't have to pay a cent. That's basically what this was all about. Now, this badge, or this item that you'd put on your car, is obviously no longer valid today, and you know, it's a relic of the past. It's just now an artifact. But I'm just showing that to you because I want you to know that conservation is a hugely important issue in my mind, and I think in Africa right now, you know, the animals of Africa are being totally exterminated, and it's by governments like Ramaphosa and the guys in Zimbabwe and the guys in Botswana. You know, they just don't care. It's all about the money. What I'm going to show you now is a little video clip of elephants, seeing we're talking about ivory. This video clip I took in 2016 when I was traveling around Serengeti, and oh, what a wonderful memory that was. Here we go.
That's the reason why they are getting so old, because they are living without
Oh, little scratch.
Little baby elephant.
Sich am Baum. Schatz, da rechts, der wo sie mit seinem Rüssel aus dem Baum holt.
Ja, den habe ich gerade.
How many elephant gives it in the Serengeti?
More than 1,500.
Oh.
And they spend 16 hours eating.
16?
Yes.
Wow.
And the group is eaten by the older female, the mature.
Okay.
Because the males are solitary.
Maybe the big one in the front is the female.
I think most of them are female.
And while visiting Serengeti, I spent a couple of days at the Ngorongoro crater. Now, if people don't know what that is, it's the most amazing little environment where it's about 20 kilometers wide. It's rather like you walk into an area that's 50 or 100 meters below the rest of the country, and the animals inside can't get out, and the animals outside can't get in. So it's like a little environment. Now, some animals do get in, particularly elephants. The old elephants, they go there to die because, you know, the food there is easier to eat, because what happens with old elephants is that they lose the ability to chew because their teeth wear down, and they basically die of starvation, which is very, very sad. But it's an amazing place in the Ngorongoro crater. And the photo that I'm going to show you, before I show you the video of the Ngorongoro crater, is a photo I took at a camp just above the rim of the Ngorongoro crater. It's absolutely beautiful. I actually use it as my screensaver. And if anyone else wants to use this photo as their screensaver, just send me an email and I'll send you a copy. It is the most stunning photo I think I've ever taken. It's actually a sunrise over the Ngorongoro crater, and the sun is rising behind this tree, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Let's have a look at that first.
This is a Ngorongoro crater from the lookout spot. You see how huge it is.
You see a lot of mix.
Absolutely massive.
Isn't that absolutely beautiful? What a wonderful place. What a wonderful experience to see it in its beauty. Now, what is happening in Africa right now is that the Maasai, and I showed you that photo of how their land is becoming more and more eroded, and they've got all these cattle they're trying to feed. They're now starting to move slowly and slowly and slowly into Serengeti. And there are more and more attacks on prides of lion, because they obviously will attack their cattle. And I just wonder how long Serengeti is going to last. Remember that famous line, Serengeti will never die? It's a tragedy. And it's happening all over Africa. And now these 4 countries want to legalize the sale of ivory. Can you imagine what that's going to do to the elephant population? It's going to devastate it. Botswana President Makwitsi Malia's largest elephant population told his fellow leaders that it was time the region comes up with a common strategy to manage the huge mammals. We cannot continue to be spectators while others debate and take decisions about our elephants, Masisi said in the opening remarks in the northern town of Kasane. The so-called Elephant Summit was attended by presidents from Botswana, Namibia, Zambia and Zimbabwe. At the end of the one-day meeting, the leaders resolved to effectively lobby the international community to relax the global ban on ivory trade to a strictly controlled form of trade. In 1989, the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species, or CITES, banned international trade in ivory by listing all African elephant populations in its Appendix 1. Southern African countries have submitted a proposal to CITES to have their elephant populations transferred from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2, which would allow them to trade in registered raw ivory to CITES-approved partners. We reflected on the status of the African elephants in the Kavango-Zambezi Trans-Frontier Conservation Area and noted that while overall numbers have declined, it is evident from available data that countries such as Botswana and Zimbabwe have large populations, they said in statements. As the numbers continue to grow, human-elephant conflict is escalating due to competition for limited resources and the effect of climate change, they said. Landlocked Botswana has about 150,000 elephants roaming freely in its unfenced parks and wide open spaces, followed by Zimbabwe with some 100,000, according to a conference document. The southern African region is also experiencing drought spells, which Masisi said was placing even more pressure on our fragile ecosystems. Around 2/3 of the world's elephant population is found on the African continent. Over the past decade, the number of elephants on the continent has fallen by about 111,000 to 415,000, largely due to poaching for ivory, according to figures from the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or IUCN. Ivory from elephant tusks is illegally traded as part of a multi-billion-dollar industry that extends from Africa to Asia and beyond. The Botswana government is lobbying to end a strict ban on wildlife hunting, which was imposed 5 years ago to protect wildlife in that country. The controversial proposals, which must be debated by Cabinet before becoming law, would overturn a hunting ban that was introduced by former President Ian Khama, who was an ardent conservationist. So there you go, guys. The genocide is not just restricted to minority groups in South Africa. It's going to be hitting, I think, way beyond just the elephant. I think that animals in Africa are going to become scarcer and scarcer and scarcer as the overpopulation of the continent just takes its toll. It's very, very sad. All right, I've got that off my chest. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, and have a great day. Bye for now.